Hi, this is Anita from Real Estate Crunch. Today we're going to talk about some of the things about buying a home. In particular, what are some of the hidden costs of buying a home? And we're going to talk about this in the sense of the United States for major U.S. cities. But of course, this would be about the same for anywhere in the world. When you're buying a home, there's some things you need to look at. Number one is the home inspection cost. This can cost anywhere between $300 to $600. There can be, different types of add-ins which can go into this too. So, this could add up. But before you buy, you'll want to have the home you're looking to buy be professionally inspected for structural issues, pests, the heating and air conditioning systems, and more. This is usually the buyer's responsibility. So this usually falls upon the buyer. Appraisal fees. You'd also want to, have it be appraised to verify that the home value actually matches the loan amount. And this again, is usually something that's out of pocket, during that you need to pay during the loan process. Property taxes can vary by state. So a lot of people, when they're looking at buying a home, they don't really think about the property taxes, but that's something you need to think about when you're buying a home for affordability, is to make sure that you can afford the property taxes. Other things like homeowners insurance, you need to make sure that you can afford the homeowner's insurance. You need to be able to protect your home from things like, damage, theft, or liability, or other types of things. One of the big problems which has been happening in, California with the fires was a lot of the homeowners there didn't have insurance for fire. Or some people that we have had recent floods didn't have home insurance for floods. So essentially, the floods destroyed their homes, they lost everything. Fire destroys their home, they've lost everything. HOA fees, the home association fees, these can really add up. They can be anywhere from $100 to $1,000 a month, and they can really make a difference. So if you don't account those into your monthly payments, you could be in trouble. I've seen some places where, the buying is relatively low, but then you look at the HOA fees are $700 a month. I mean, that's huge. So if suddenly your payment is $2,000 a month, and now you've got $700 a month plus, on top of it, property taxes, could be, $400 a month. And you really need to look and say, is that worth it or not worth it? Closing costs can be expensive too. You need to look at all the different things for the closing cost, as well as moving costs. They can vary anywhere between $500 to $5,000, depending upon how far you're moving, or even further. If you have to move even further, it can cost even more. And things like ongoing maintenance. It's recommended that when you own property, you put aside 1% to 3% of your budget in order for home maintenance and repairs. We can compare. I have a chart here in a blog post I've written where I'm comparing some of the costs in some of the major cities from Phoenix, Arizona. I have Salt Lake City, Utah, Orlando, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, and of course, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is kind of where I'm from. So you can see sort of some of the difference. For example, on all of these, the appraisals between $450 to $600, with Chicago being the most expensive. But the home inspection can be anywhere between $350 to $700, again, with Chicago the most expensive. But of course, other places it's expensive too. So it's very similar down the line. And then, different things you'll need in your budget. It really just depends upon the area. But, surprisingly, Phoenix, Arizona was up to $18,000. You need extra. Salt Lake City, $15,000. Orlando, Florida, be $20,000. Chicago, $25,000, and Milwaukee, $19,000. So some of them are pretty much about the same, but it just depends. And then the tax rate, of course, can be different in each of these too. So insurance too can also make a difference. Where Salt Lake City had one of the cheaper insurance costs, where of course one of the highest costs was Orlando, Florida. That would be because of the hurricane season, of course. And then after that was Chicago, because Chicago is a major city. So hopefully this gives you some ideas of some of the different cities and what they are. So you can look at them and you can see. You should really budget for all these hidden costs. And even if you think that you don't need it, you should still keep it in your budget. And if for some reason you're lucky and you don't need it, then maybe you can use it and go on a nice holiday somewhere or go somewhere. If you're interested to be able to read more about this, we've written a blog entitled, "What are the hidden costs of buying a home in major U.S. cities?" We will put a link in our description below so that you can be able to click on that and be able to read more. We really appreciate you joining with us, being part of our community. We hope that you find these things informative, that it helps you to be able to understand more, to make better decisions for such an important investment as real estate investment. Thank you so much for being part of our community. If you haven't yet, press that subscribe button. We'd love to have you join with us. Thank you.